we're going to be talking about productivity stuff. Specifically, we're hoping to get to how to like estimate larger projects on teams with pretty good accuracy. Now, what I mean by pretty good accuracy is 90%, um, but with the caveat that we're only talking about sprints and we give ourselves a 30% buffer on either side. So what that means is I might be able to go up to like the business and say, okay, for this large project, our team has estimated that it's going to take three sprints to complete, and that already includes the 30% up or down. Maybe it's like 3 or 4 sprints, because like the 30% goes up or down. So I wrote out all of this stuff as like what we would need to like discuss to actually like, get to this, because there's a lot to have happen. So let's first start with like my background on this, because like when I first got into like the IT industry, I think most people was like, oh, I don't want to be a manager. Being a manager is like sucks and is terrible. I think I felt that way because I hadn't really had a great manager to show off what could be done. Like what a team with like a strong leadership could accomplish. And that essentially went like, going through systems administration, becoming a software developer, working, a couple different places. It wasn't until I started working with one of my current mentors, and still friend, one of the few people that I keep in contact with after having left a job with them. He like formed a bubble in the company, in the organization, and I think it might be excellent to create a freehand document for this. So can I create a new one? New freehand. I'm going to name this leadership. Sure, leadership is fine. Leadership, productivity, they all sort of like go hand in hand, are absolutely required. Okay, so can I actually use this? Just pick up this thing only by itself. Don't knock over everything else. Okay, will you work? Oh, yes, you will. Okay, awesome. So I've got an actual like old school Wacom tablet. Okay, so what we had in this team that sort of like made me realize that leadership and management is something that I am passionate about and want to get into, was we were able to create a high performing team. I was just part of it at that point in time. But once you're part of a high performing team, and then you like lose that because like, something happens, you end up having to leave that job, go to somewhere else. You want nothing more than to get back into that. Like that, once you've seen the light, everything else looks dark. I don't know. There's a lot of metaphors that could be stated for this, but there's a lot of reasons for why that didn't work out. Because like at one point in time, I was thinking, well, I found my forever job. I'm just gonna be here forever because this is the most amazing thing ever. But it wasn't like it wasn't a lot of work. It was the most work that I had done for a very long time. Um, and jobs after that kind of felt slow, which is really fascinating. But it also wasn't like I was super stressed out while there too. It was basically it was a very easy to maintain pace, but still felt fast, which I thought is pretty amazing. But the critical mistake And the manager at this time, who is still my mentor, and I love working with him if I ever have the chance. He knows this is a mistake, but it's also not one that he knows how to like rectify. It's something that like is not easy. If you have an entire organization, and I'm not talking about the place I'm working at right now. This is like a previous company. So if you have like an entire organization and they're doing something in like, I don't know, they're doing stuff in like these different ways. They've set up that you're doing all there, and then we come in and our team does it a different way. What we learned is that it doesn't matter, that doing it this way is better for the customer, it's better for us as the team members, and it's better for the business overall. In a way, we were one of the few teams that actually provided, made more money for the company. We used less resources, and we attracted, more talent from, just around in the area. But what we learned is, and the reason why I'm using a circle is, this is a bubble. If you form a bubble inside of a company that or organization that they're all doing it differently, and if that bubble doesn't have anything to reach out to then like try to win the hearts and minds, as it were, to basically convince the rest of the company, no, this is the best way to do it, then what ends up happening is the organization is going to act just like a body acts with white blood cells and some kind of negative, virus in the system. And it will attack it and try to turn this into that again, which will pop the bubble and cause, and basically, even though it was, a better system, true, it's my opinion, but I'm willing to go behind that and say like we had a better system. It will not last. So my time ended at this organization, and I really wanted to get back to this. So a couple jobs later, and then I got to where I am now with my current company, and I finally am now in like a management position, and I got hired to literally do this. Take a company where we have a bunch of diamonds and create a circle. The key difference that I have in my organization that I think is like one of the most important things is I have support from upper management. So the CTO of the company is 100% got my back on this. In fact, we have conversations about theory of management, theory of flow. We are able to like discuss where we want to take the teams and how we should be able to get there. And that I could not do what I've done without that support. So if you are a team lead, if you're in the same position I'm in, if you're going to become a team lead, so like you're considering whether or not to take a job as a team lead, or even if you just want to be a team lead or just want to understand how, like, why certain things are working, if this support structure where you need somebody high up in the organization, so that's traditional org chart, right? So we have like the CEO, and then we have like CTO, we usually have like a CPO, sometimes there's a COO, chief customer success officer. Like there's lots of different little titles that come around. Here's some random ones. My company has a CMO, Chief Medical Officer, which is pretty cool. If you don't have at a minimum one at this level, you need at least one from this level to support you. Nothing will work. And the reason for this is because other teams are going to see like what's happening. Not even necessarily other teams. Like it might be like other levels of other levels of management. And there's going to be pressure to like revert to the mean, to like go back to what we're comfortable with. And if we do that, everything is lost, right? Like this requires change. Change is hard. Change is really painful. And so just like starting a fire, it's really weak at the beginning. It takes a lot of effort to keep it going healthy. So if you want to make this change that I'm going to be talking about all, this morning, if you don't have the support of like one of these, that's the first thing to do. You can't do anything else until you get buy-in from one of these people. So what does that look like? I would start with one-on-ones, bi-weekly or weekly. Bi-weekly means like every 2 weeks or every 1 week. I know bi-weekly is a weird word where it can be many different things. At least once or every other week, at the least, have one-on-ones with this person. Talk about what you're trying to do, why you're trying to do it. And then like just be frank and honest about what support you need. And support will change over time because like sometimes it'll be like, I need you to block, this other person over here is trying to like interrupt our sprints and trying to like just have us do something else. I need you to tell them not to do that anymore because I don't have that authority. Because that's usually what it comes down to. As team leads, we have authority over our teams and nothing else. And that's why it's a bubble. We have authority in this world we create here. We can't change how everything else here happens. Now that's a slight lie, right? Because we can't kind of change it, but not directly. Again, none of this will happen unless you have somebody to help you out. So that's the first, that's my first like sort of talking point here is we need someone to back us up higher or in the organization. And like my suggestion, like should be a C level person, a director can help, but a C level will, I don't know if I can say like ensure success, but like it's a lot higher chance. Okay. Realize that this is all Markdown. I should probably give it the double spaces since that's like the appropriate to Markdown. Okay. So that's like the introduction to this. I guess like the other introduction part to this is like where I came in with the team. When I came in and joined the company, the CTO was acting as team lead. We only had like two software development teams. We had the team that was working on a product that was actually like used. So this is like they're working on the VR stuff and Unity and C#, really cool stuff, fun stuff. I didn't do that. I was on what's called the platform team. In fact, the team was just called the platform. Um, and it was a legacy application that had two backend frameworks, one embedded inside of the other, sort of like an idea of like, okay, one was created a long time ago by contractors from out of country. And while I have nothing against contractors out of country, the problem is that if you just sort of like build that and the people don't have any like long-term buy-in or like care that much about it, they're not going to write it in such a way that it's going to be maintainable. So what ended up happening was most of them were hired to do this and then let go by our CTO all before I started. There was one contractor remaining who was pretty amazing. He was able to keep everything going for a very long time before eventually he quit and went to Facebook. So I came in, I had a contractor who knew the most about the product, or the platform in this case. The CTO also knew the most, but he was a CTO. He was trying to be a programmer, a team lead, and CTO, not something he could do. And then I had a designer, a developer recently out of a code school. The designer didn't know too much JavaScript, but was excellent at design, and then a QA person who I shared with the other engineering team. And because of that, like our most senior developer was a contractor who was 12 hours difference in time or more, which means that we didn't really get a chat with him during the day. We were doing Kanban for the system. So tickets, we would have in our, let's create a little Kanban thing here. We would have tickets remain. Okay, so I can copy these over in our various columns. We also had lots of them that would be on the columns. And very few of them would get to done. I think when I first started, there was a ticket on the board that was there for like 6 months on the board, just like not making any progress whatsoever, which was not ideal. Generally speaking, you want flow, and flow requires like fast moving projects and tickets. So that was like one of the things. I was actually tasked with leveling up the team. That was like the big thing that the CEO, or I guess like there's two co-founders. So we had like the CEO and the president who were like both essentially at the same level. The president was on charge of like the product side, and the CEO was like more on the sales side. So I didn't really interact with the CEO too much. But the president told me, okay, time to like, level up everybody so we can like do more faster. Yes, but not directly. Like I learned that pretty quickly. So one lesson, if you're brand new to a team and you get promoted into a leadership team, be wary of what you're told you need to do for success in like your position. Because just like development, where if you build something to what the client says they want, it's very rarely what they actually want. It's just what they think that they want. Like it's a solution. They're giving you a solution, but it's important to go in and think, oh, what do they really want? And let me like figure out a way to get there, because it might not be the way that that person thought that we should get there. So it took like me about 1 year to sort of like understand the product and then another year to have us become like we changed things around. I sort of like fully took control of the team, and then we started making drastic changes over time. And then about 6 months in, we started getting like the benefits of high performance. And then about a year in is when the company came in, because I'm kind of being told you're high performance. Like, I don't say that lightly. The leadership, so like the high level leadership of the company, gave me that label for the team. So they said, okay, the team is high performing now. We agree that you're high performing. So I did not label that myself, and I am super proud that we can get there. And I'm still looking forward to like how we can continue to improve that, because I'm very well aware of how easy it is for everything to just go down and like revert backwards. And so keeping a tight hand on culture and keeping a tight grip on, well, making sure that things work out is what we want. Oh, my music's not playing. I forgot to turn desktop audio off while we were playing Mario Golf. Luckily you could hear me still, so that's good. So that's I guess like my introduction and like where I was at the start of this journey, and then what I'm going to be talking about in like these sections that are coming up is what I learned and what I observed that we were doing as a team that led us to this so-called high-performing state. And mileage obviously always varies, but I think that with sound is good, awesome. Thank you, Chantilly. I think that there is, I'm hoping that that like whatever tidbits of knowledge that I can show off here can help if you're in the same position that I was, with you giving yourself a high performance team. So let's come back to here. The goal. We want to be able to estimate projects accurately. Projects in this case would mean something that that takes more than one sprint, let's say, like 2 weeks or so. Even if you're not doing sprints, you still like want to be able to estimate how long something takes. I've heard a lot of talk about like no estimates. I tried to do no estimates. I tried to tell the company, no, look, we can't estimate things. It's just a lie. It won't work. Because like all this other stuff that we can't measure, that we can't see, happens during a sprint, or I guess it was like during Kanban at the time. So like just stuff happens and we can't work on it, and we'll be like, it just will be a lie. Are you okay with it being a lie? And the response is, we can't plan. We can't like figure out the budget. We can't do other things. So the estimates, unfortunately, are necessary. They're necessary because the business does need to plan around things. That being said, and I think I have it down here, somewhere down here. No deadlines. Deadlines. What I discovered was the business tends to use deadlines, and I don't mean like just my business. Like every business I've been involved in tends to use deadlines as a way to have an estimate. So they'll say like, okay, estimate this thing, and then they'll turn that into a deadline because that makes it really easy for bookkeeping and for planning and everything else. So I found you can't have no estimates and no deadlines. That just won't work. The business is going to revolt against you, and you're not going to get anywhere, and it's going to be, you're just going to lose political capital really fast by trying to like enforce that. So instead, if you want to do no deadlines, you have to do a milestone system. So switch to a milestone system instead. Okay, so what is a milestone system? So let's take a project timeline, as it were. Okay, so we've got this, got a project timeline, let's say. We have here, we have like our start, nothing has been done, and then we have maybe, let's say, a fully sellable, like a V, let's call this like V1. V1, and it's like fully sale. So like fully sellable to like everyone. So ready for market. Now it's kind of like hard to say like, well, when should one big problem, when should marketing start the hype train? Now, traditionally, what would happen is the business, and by business, I mean like the product team and the marketing team and maybe the sales team would get together in a meeting, oftentimes without engineering, and say, okay, well, this is our plan. We're going to be done by, let's say this, we estimate this is going to take 6 months. We estimate it's going to take 6 months because that will line up really well with a with like some event that's happening, like a conference or like Christmas or like something else. Notice the problem here? That deadline is not created based upon anything in reality. That deadline is created based upon an external event that they want to hit. And then they're going to say, okay, well, based upon this, we're going to move backwards and say, okay, well, then 4 months out at this time, we're going to start marketing. So we're going to do hype train. So start the hype. And then at this time, we're going to do a code freeze and like a QA time, and then like maybe here we'll have like an alpha test where we're gonna like bring in some of our clients who like are well aware of what like alphas are, and we're going to show them the product, and then there we go. Okay, here we go. Let's go ahead and give our requirements off to the team and start going. And the chance that this is going to work as a rounding error close to 0. I've never seen or heard of a product working like this. Because what's the problem? We're missing a key component here. No engineers are part of this map, this timeline. So doesn't work. That's the reason why deadlines don't work. Well, there's more reasons why deadlines don't work. I'll get into that a little bit later. Deadlines actually nefarious for like multiple reasons. Okay, so milestones would be us coming through and saying, okay, I'm gonna use not red because red is like a fairly negative color. It's like anger and like, okay, so in a milestone, we might say, okay, well, we have key ideas and we have epics, and these features that make up the epics and the key ideas, once we reach to here with implementation, we're going to call this an alpha. An alpha. Then once we reach here, we're going to be a beta. And then we'll be ready to demo. And then we'll have like V1 out here. But notice there's no times associated with any of these. But there is this idea that the farther along we are in a project, the more we know about the project. And because the more we know about the project, the faster we can go because there's less unknowns. So we can basically state, okay, marketing, you can start here. Marketing starts when the beta has been delivered and the beta is like, gets a thumbs up. So these are little gates that we have in here. And we don't know how long it's going to take to get there, but we're going to not start marketing until we have something that can be shown. Now, maybe this isn't great. The demo is what we actually want to like take to a conference or something else. But if we miss a conference because like, well, we just go past it, that like, well, we can take a beta. We can take like our marketing hype train. But if our goal as a company is to provide the best products for the clients, then we can't really aim for like some other client, which would be like a conference. This is a long-term strategy plan. It's something for, okay, once we're done with this, we'll start with the next one. This will be high quality, and we won't burn out our team, and we'll be able to make more over time with less, and we'll get better sales. Like there's a lot of good ands in there. So like marketing starts, maybe we like share with partners. This could be also early access. All the fun stuff. And then also like marketing starts here. Maybe sales. The sales engine starts gearing up and then is really going strong once V1 comes out. Also, by the time we reach here, we're gonna know our velocity of the project. And I don't mean like velocity like that point value that you get like as a team in Scrum. I mean, just in general, you can get a feeling for how this project is going as you're getting over here. So this is what I mean by like no deadlines. Switch to a milestone system instead. That means, let's see, we have gate points where we begin the different parts of the product, like marketing hype, sales engine, demos, early access. There's another part to the no deadlines thing that I think is really, really, really important to like consider. And this comes from less of like a company thing, but of something like as a team lead, we're concerned about the quality of the application. Like that's one of our primary concerns is like the quality of the application. If we have a deadline, it doesn't matter. Like it almost doesn't matter. Just having a deadline causes us to take shortcuts because we have to make the deadline. Shortcut. So deadline causes pressure, right? So we do something like this. If we're gonna have like a graph, right? So we'd have pressure, which is really like a frame of like how much time is left before the deadline occurs, and the quality. Like we might start when we don't have too much pressure, we're gonna start way up here. with quality. Let's do like something vastly different. There we go. But then as pressure increases, our quality is going to start going down. Why does quality go down? Because we start taking shortcuts. Okay, we have so much work in front of us. That deadline's getting like really nasty. I'm getting concerned. I am going to go ahead and instead of doing like proper solid architecture for this like this system, I'm going to instead just program it as fast as I can in a way that I know is going to work. I'm going to try to be safe and avoid like any kind of anything where I'm like not sure if it's the best system. And I'm also going to stop refactoring when I'm done writing the code. Maybe we'll even stop writing tests because like tests just take longer. The problem with that is, well, we didn't have tests and we had a bug in there because we're humans and we wrote bugs. So now we have to fix that bug. And so we're going to fix it with a Band-Aid. But because code is sort of like a construction project, we built a framework and then everything is sitting on that framework. Everything now is reliant upon like that code. So that code has problems. For the code that's built on it has problems. You end up with like the Swiss cheese projects. It takes a pretty big dive down and we're just going down like this. And quality of our project is not very good by the time we're done. In fact, this is where you could run into projects where's my timeline here, where you can reach the quote V1 and you've thrown away all like half the features that you had initially thought were V1 ready because, well, have to get it out there for the deadline. And so once you start with low quality, like a little bit of that rots the code base, and then you add good stuff to rotten stuff. It's sort of like moldy food. If you have like a piece of bread that's moldy, just throwing a bunch of fresh loaves of bread on top of the moldy bread is gonna just mold everything else that much faster. You've got to take it out, clean out the thing, get rid of all the moldy spores, and start over with that. Like, it's not 100% of the way over. You still have a bread box, but anything that was molded out needs to be removed and like rebuilt right then. You wait until later and other things need to be rebuilt because that was, well, moldy. And one broken window leads to more broken windows. Yes, exactly, Chantilly. The broken window effect. Yeah, that's exactly it. And so this is where there's like, even with this no deadline, there's going to be pressure because like there's always a deadline, which is how much money does your company have to survive and pay everyone. If you run out of money before you start selling, game over. It's done. That's in a deadline. You can't have like no deadlines, but you can basically not have any explicit deadlines that have nothing to do with reality, which is often what happens. Is people just say like, well, we want to just like make this time, so we just made up this number and we're gonna go for it. And developers step up and work weekends, work overtime, and make it better for us. It's not going to end up well for that product. You're not going to be able to build that product and like build it to something else very easily. Quality will be down. Like, we've had several games recently that have had these quality issues. Some super high priority, and it's because of this. Because they didn't do a milestone system. Because they did the deadline system. So the last part about deadline and quality is about tiredness and being tired when we're working. I really wish I had kept the link to this. My CTO and me have talked about this study, and we both read it at one point in time a very long time ago, and I don't remember where it is. But Microsoft has an entire like lab where they do scientific studies and like productivity, and some of them have been very interesting. I've lost the one that like I want to reread the most, but it's based on the idea that, let's say you start by doing all this work, right? So like your first sprint, let's say, is just this. Let's actually fill that in. Okay, great. But there's a deadline coming up, and so you start. The team is asked to do overwork, and by overwork I mean like they're now working when they're tired and they're not at their best mentally. So maybe they do a little bit of work here, and this is going to be red because red is bad, and this represents waste, unplanned work, bugs. These are problems. So what Microsoft found is that for every 1 hour of overwork, now I think they said 1 hour overwork that the team member did not want to work, but I have a personal feeling, and I don't have any data to back this up, that it's really just when you're tired, right? Like if you're working and you're tired, you're going to create, and this is like from Microsoft study, which I really wish that I had the proof, like the links to the study. So if anybody you listening to this knows the link to study, please link it in a comment or something. I would love to reread it. But they said for every 1 hour of work, you would generate, I think, 4 hours of bugs. And these aren't like bugs that you can just wait until the end. These are bugs that have to be dealt with. And so what ends up happening is you're tired, so you spend a little bit, you create like 4 hours of bugs. The next day, you come in and you first have to work on the bugs and fix them. But then now you're behind. So you work on your normal stuff, and then you end up going over and working overtime because you didn't get your 6 hours or 8 hours or however many time, your 40 hours for the week. We'll just keep that, even though I personally believe that 32 hours would probably be best for this. You do the, did I freeze? No internet connection. Liar, OBS is still fine. Envision just decided that there was no internet connection for some reason. Okay. We now just added more bugs. There's something nefarious happening here. Pretty soon, your team is going to be doing more bug fixing than actual work that provides towards the milestone, towards the actual project. And what's really bad is eventually you just get to the point where all you're doing is bug fixing and no value added work whatsoever. And that's this is now at a point where the project has failed. There's no way that it can be completed at all. Like it will never be shipped. Drastic changes need to happen. We need to prevent this from happening. So where do we look to like find this? Well, first of all, this is a direct, like this is what overwork and deadlines cause. Deadlines cause this because we have pressure, so we're going to work faster and we'll cause bugs by trying to work faster. I used to I was always told like slow slow down to speed up is just something that I noticed, and then I found out later that I think the military, the U.S. military, it's the Marines. I don't actually remember who maybe it's the Army. They state slow is smooth and smooth is fast as just an alternate way of speeding up. Like you will move faster over time if you go slow now. So deadlines cause us to rush. Rushing causes bugs. Code written while bugs are present is buggy code. This will eventually slow us down until there is nothing we are doing other than bug fixing. So what is the solution to this? No deadlines. Don't have deadlines. What is it? Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. It sounds like that shouldn't, like that's just a violation of like physics or something. It's not. Slow yourself down. Do it right the first time, and you don't have to do it right again later. I remember someone who once said like companies, big companies often don't have the budget to like slow it down and do it right the first time, but they always have the budget to just, you know, hire a bunch of contractors to like fix it later. Why don't you just spend less money and do it right the first time? So this comes back to like, if you can't get somebody on the C-level to like agree that this is an important thing, not going to work. You're not going to be able to get to like where we need to go. And there is a what is it called? A conundrum. There is a chicken and egg problem here. To get no deadlines, you need trust. To get trust, you need to like build things properly. And then to build things properly, you need no deadlines. So somebody has to trust somebody else. It's usually going to be that one person who's going to defend you on like the top upper levels, and you got to trust each other. And then communication is really, 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 really key. To like keep communicating while you're building this out. I would recommend one team at first, prove that out, and then use that proof to like move to the other teams and change that from there. Okay, let's move on to like the next thing here. Retrospectives. So, retros, I think, is the only thing you really truly need of this list. That if you don't have it, you're never going to succeed as a team or organization. Retrospectives, all this really means is looking inwards at ourselves. Looking in at ourselves. This could be like on a personal and or team level. seeing like what is happening and coming up with experiments to try to improve everything. That's it. That's all a retrospective really is just like take a break. Where are we? Why are we here? And what's something we can try that's different? And, you know, what do we expect it or want it to change? Okay, so I've run lots of experiments with my team. Before this, I was a teacher at a code school. I ran lots of experiments on my students. I tried not to call them experiments to the students because they turns out that if you pay a lot of money to go to a school and you're told that you're having experiments run on you, you don't like that. Who knew, right? That you'd be you don't want to be a guinea pig for that. That being said, the only way to improve is to try something new. Now, you don't have to choose an experiment blindly. An experiment can be based upon metrics, on data. So data collection is really important here. I actually have that as something here, metrics, like knowing what is real and then saying like, well, I think that if I did this thing will change for the better. Okay, well, let's try it. Let's figure it out. Let's give it like 3 weeks. Let's give it 4 sprints. Let's, whatever. And then we'll collect the data from that, see, did it change? Key things about retrospectives, the team. The team needs agency to retro themselves and come up with the experiments to try. So this can be really rough for some teams because like sometimes the product owner will come in and say like, hey, you've been really slow. I want you to try this experiment to see if you're better. And the team lead should like nix that. Even if that's the experiment they want, the team lead should say, no, we're going to come up with the experiments. I know that like it might be one of those things where it's like, no, I refuse to do that. Okay, hey, let's try doing this thing that's like the exact same thing. It's who comes up with the experiments to try must be the team. Otherwise you don't have a team. You just have a bunch of people that you're treating like robots. And that is like the fastest way to disenfranchise people, to make them feel like crap, and to make them give up and like go find somewhere else to work. Not all experiments will succeed. Like, if they all did, you're doing something wrong, right? You're being safe. And safety will never, ever, ever succeed. Like, it's I've heard about this in investment. Like, I don't really do like money investment and playing in the stock market and all that stuff. But I've heard that if you're just taking like the safe ones that are like have no chance of like losing anything, then there's also no chance to gain anything. Limit code, hello. So it's the same thing here. Gotta take experiments that have a chance of failure, but then it might succeed. There's another big part about this though, is limit experiments. As a team lead, we're gonna see all the we see like problems because like think of us as like the captain of this ship. And this is a metaphor that I actually really like. Imagine the organization is a fleet of ships. You can still gain something, just small gain. Low risk, low reward. Yes, okay, that is true. But you won't gain like the big changes that you need to get to like high performance. So imagine that we're like a fleet of ships. Each team essentially is, let's use triangles first. Each fleet is going to be a ship like this. And there's going to be different of these ships. What are you? You're S. So now I can't like go backwards with this or rotate it. Oh, that would have been perfect. What you want is all of these ships to be aligned together and moving in the same direction. But like we are, let's say, you know, we're this ship here. We're the captain as the lead of this team of this specific ship. So we see like, okay, you're here. You know, we want to move, you know, we can move around within this area. We interact with the ships. So we have to dock with them a little bit. Then we dock with them. Then we like move out of here, we grow a little bit. You know, let's go off and like go do something else and we'll come back. Like there's many different ways to like have the metaphor work, but we are in control of our own destiny within the fleet, which is hopefully all moving together, which is a completely different topic of whether or not your company is in alignment. That's another issue that a lot of companies have. But since we're in control of the ship, we come up with a list of experiments, and we also see problems with the ship. We might feel like, oh, people are not engaged, so I can come up with an experiment to increase engagement. Our ticket sizes are really huge, so we can do an experiment for like breaking the tickets apart more. I also see that like we can we might want to like take more breaks and do more pairings. Let's come up with a ticket for like doing enforced breaks, and maybe like we'll pair four times a week. Let's also do an experiment with like keeping the cameras on when we do meetings remotely. Quickly, you come up with like a list of like a laundry list, grocery list of experiments that do not try to implement them all at once. Very bad idea. Like very, very, very bad idea. You're going to overwhelm your team, you're going to overwhelm yourself, and you're going to get absolutely no benefit whatsoever, because you won't even know which experiment caused like a benefit. You'll just have to keep on doing them all forever. So one experiment at a time. And try to keep your experiments to habits, like things that are like habits, because then you'll be able to add a new experiment in once the habit sets, which is really cool. It's pretty awesome when like that starts happening. Test back this. So limit experiments to one at a time. This also has the side benefit of making sure that we're choosing the most important experiment to begin with. You can keep a list of all the other experiments to run, but don't think that like the order that you come up with them is the order that you should do them in. By the time that first experiment is done and it's time for the next one, new problems will have arisen, and you'll probably have to just come up with a new list of experiments and just go from there. So try not to like pre-plan experiments too much. Just sort of like stay agile with this, because new problems occur randomly. But with retrospectives, you don't actually need to know literally anything else of what I'm saying. If you have a strong retrospective culture, you will eventually hit high performing, because you can't not, right? Like we moved too far to the left. I guess it would be for you guys. We moved too far to the left. And then we changed and we went back this way, and then we just slowly dial it in until we're exactly where we want to go. That's what retrospectives give you. This is an entire like field of study of like how to have good retrospectives. I'm not necessarily going to go into that. I'd be happy to talk about how I run my retrospectives and how I choose experiments, but like I'm not necessarily going to go into that right now. Also, I never really mentioned that if you have questions, either here live or if you're watching this on like YouTube and you have questions, please feel free to ask them. I'll be happy to like answer. This is like both me giving like a, I don't know, sort of like lecture style, but also I would love to make it interactive as well. Okay, so what's next? We did retrospectives. We can start like moving down through what we have here. Let's do and-on chord next. I didn't really like put this in a like specific order, but rather the order I sort of like thought of as I do this. Okay, so the and-on chord is something really fascinating. I didn't actually know about it until I started working this job here. My CTO introduced it to me. So Toyota invented pretty much like lean, like modern lean manufacturing. And for all the like all the crap that they're getting into with like politics, we could ignore all of that and just like focus on what they're doing as like a business to be able to like pump out high quality products in like a short period of time, and how they rose to power as like a dominant car manufacturer in the 90s and like 2000s, because they did something pretty amazing, and they got to the point where now all the other car manufacturers and all physical manufacturers are really just copying what Toyota did. And it's like super, super fascinating. And they claim that one of the things is this and-on chord idea. So let's let's say we have a assembly line here, and we have cars moving through the assembly line. And people are at each station adding them on. And so assembly lines, I mean, they were invented by Ford way back in like the early 1900s. Maybe even before then, I don't remember. But everything is like on this track. And so essentially the track is moving. People are at each station. And so like a person is here, they, put on a wheel or something. Now it's done by robots with somebody like watching over the robot. And then the car moves forward, and then they work on the next thing over here. Now, whether or not like that specific thing is done anymore doesn't really matter now. What matters is in Toyota, and they've been very public about this, so I'm very confident to say this, they have an actual cord hanging down at every station. Because it's line, right? Pencil. And anybody, like from a janitor to the person working at the station, to a manager, to the CEO, can walk up to one of these stations and pull the andon cord. And when you pull the andon cord, the entire production line halts. All the cars stop moving forward, and then they do what's called swarming. Everyone comes and swarms around, from managers to like everyone who's around and available comes and gathers around, and you diagnose what the problem is. Why did we pull this andon? Well, maybe like, we're working on the side doors, let's say, like the driver's side door. The driver's side door like has a really bad dent in it here, and it shouldn't be here. That's a problem. Well, let's look. Oh crap! The one behind it has that too, and the one behind that. This is a problem. So let's figure out what's going on. Oh, there's a machine is broken 3 stations back. Okay, well that's what's causing it. We just noticed it here. So let's go all and fix that machine right now. Get everything back up to like top quality, and then we'll keep on going, and we undo the andon cord, and everything starts moving forward again. By doing that, Toyota ensured that they would have minimal waste. By let's say it was like these 3 cars were made with these bad side doors. They only made 3 cars with bad side doors. They didn't even finish making them. They made them to this halfway made point when they realized the problem, pulled the andon cord, fixed the problem, and now they can just like remove those doors, send the cars back, and like redo that again. Does the person try to figure out where the problem is by oneself before pulling the cord? No, that's the beauty of this, is all you have to do is know that there's a problem and then pull the cord, because you might not have all the information. And what Toyota was doing was trying to say, look, we want to minimize waste at an organizational level, not at a personal level, but an organizational level. So I don't know how true this story is, but I've been told it by like several different people. So there, it may or may not be true. And I've heard it from like different car manufacturers. We're going to choose Ford and Toyota because they're the 2 biggest ones back when this story supposedly was talked about, which I've heard many times between like the 80s and the 90s and early 2000s. So who knows? A Ford executive was bragging at a conference, at a car manufacturer's conference, that they had employed the best like hammerers. Like, they could take a panel from a car, and like if there was a ding in the car when it came out, they could like hammer that away and remove it and make it look perfect. And if the door wasn't like fitting perfectly right, they would be able to like just hammer it a little bit and then get the door to fit perfectly after it was off the manufacturing line, which meant there was less waste because the cars could now be sold, whereas before they'd have to be, they were lost. And the Toyota executive said, well, we don't have to hire such a person because we don't let a car get finished unless it's perfect. So we don't have to do that. This is what that means. Pull the andon cord as soon as a problem is detected, fix the problem as the team, and then everything starts moving forward again. There's this huge field of management and leadership and like how things get done. And there's like 2 big philosophies here. Deming came up with this one, total quality management. I think that's what it is. TQM, total quality management. And then Taylor came up with scientific management. I forget exactly what it's called, but basically it's now like Taylorism versus TQM. I am very much on the side of Deming's work. And I am not a fan of like almost anything that came out of the Taylorist side. So that is something that I am willing to like talk a lot about and do lots of arguments about. Ironically, even though there's a lot of science talk in the Taylorist side, I don't feel that there's much actual science in there. But as an example, the Taylorist side is where you tell, like, give money to your employees or remove money from your employees as a way to ensure that they work hard and show up. Like, that's where that comes from. Whereas Deming was make sure that your employees have agency and then pay them enough that they don't care about money, and then you will always have the highest quality, and like you won't have to worry about workers not showing up. Completely opposite philosophies. Toyota went with Deming, and they did become a top, they owned the world for a while with cars. So there is that. So what does an and-on chord look like in software development? To me, an and-on chord is a very similar thing. You run into a problem, and then before very long, let's see. When we, so individual contributors run into a problem that take more time than we think it should, then we quotes, because like there's no physical and-on chord. Although I've always wanted to like create like a button you can smash and like and-on chord, and then like a big red like light shows up in everybody's office, or like at home, and then like you can swarm. Then we pull the and-on chord, and the team stops everything that we are doing and swarm on the problem. Okay, so I can almost hear a bunch of people like gasping. But what about flow? Aren't you pulling people out of flow? Isn't that like literally the worst thing you could possibly do, is like take somebody from what they're doing and like we all swarm on this like problem? And my response is yes. But the flow, like there's two types of flow that we're concerned about here. Individual flow is important and it's good, but organizational flow is also really important and really good. And what that means here is if we run into a problem where somebody cannot work or has like become really, really, really slow at that work, that's sort of like no longer treating a team as one boat, but now a team would be made up of really tiny boats. Like that. All inside of here. If one team member gets left behind, the entire team is slowed down. It's not like we can just say, oh, well, we loved having Jimmy working with us, but they ran into a bug and they couldn't figure it out, and we don't actually care about teamwork, so we just like threw them a lifesaver, and we just like we're continuing on because we have we can't stop for them. So yeah, we did let somebody drown, but it's okay. We're still two of us left. That organizational flow means we're all in this together. We are moving to the end, and we're getting it done together. Also, the thing that stops somebody might be really, 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 really important that we need to fix that. So, for example, something that really happened to like my team was our tests were terrible. We had like terrible tests. Like we had tests, that's good, but they were taking like just over time, they started taking like 25 minutes to run and get done. And sometimes they would fail for no reason. And you have to rerun them just to see whether or not that was a true failure or not. So it could be an hour just to find out whether or not the code you wrote works in deployment. That is terrible, terrible, terrible. So we pulled the andon cord, and we all swarmed, and we discovered, well, there were some of these tests that were like, had these like weird halts and like waits in them. So we spent some time rewriting some of those tests, and we got everything down to 10 minutes, which is, is it perfect? No. But is it good enough for like what we need to do? Absolutely it was. So then we like broke off and went back to our own things, but now we all had the benefit of having these faster tests for us. So that is like the type of thing that you can get benefit from by using something like the andon cord. The other thing is now we all learn. Like this is a learning opportunity. The Japanese term for it, from what I understand, I don't speak Japanese, so I might be like translating this, is kaizen. Also probably mispronouncing that horrifically too, so sorry if you're Japanese. Kaizen is like the continuous improvement for this. So we pull the andon cord and we have a Kaizen meeting where we then, what's the problem? Why is it a problem? Is it really a problem? And let's fix the problem right now. And then we all break off, but now we're all have more knowledge because of that. Now, flow is important. I mentioned that like, hey, we broke everybody out of flow. And now we go all back off to like going do our individual things again. This is where anything that you can do, so experiments to try to allow yourself to drop back into flow quickly. So you want to drop out of flow and into flow several times, but rapidly. And that's what an andon cord gets you. Is so like when there's a problem, pull the andon cord. Okay, what's next? I think, let's see. Velocity and types of work are actually, you notice I have them at different levels because they're kind of the same thing. So let's talk about velocity. So this is something that's misunderstood by, and we as engineers know this so well. It's misunderstood by so many non-team members. And it is probably the most dangerous metric that you can use in your team. So if you are a new team lead, highly, highly, highly recommend that you learn what velocities truly are and how to use them properly, because they're very, very, very dangerous. But they're also the key to being able to estimate, because you can't estimate if you don't know how fast you're going. So generally speaking, a velocity is often graphed, is based on like on sprints is usually what we look at them for, but it can be done in like any system that has a ticket based. And almost like every place that I've worked at, you use tickets for this. So let's say that you have, we have a Kanban board. You can have Kanban boards even if you're working sprints. So we have something like nope, don't want that. You want like ready. Let's just do like a really simple one. Doing A lot of people have QA. And done. Maybe we even have a deploying. So here's like a very, very typical sort of like board. Now, a Kanban board, again, it's a Japanese term. I think a lot of people think of like Kanban as like the system of flow, where you're just moving, like, you know, you're just moving things around. You're constantly filling up ready, and you're constantly emptying out done as soon as it's well done. But Kanban really means visualizing the work, like a visualization of the work. And that's what's important here. So let's say we have some tickets. So let's create some of these. Let's make these green. And let's say we have like a bunch of tickets in the back and ready. We have some over in each of these. Maybe we have a Kanban board that looks something like this. And maybe we are doing sprints for this. Now, each one of these boxes is going to have a point on it. Now, I know that some teams really like to do like the 1 through 8, where it's like 1 per day, like 1 point per day. This doesn't work. It's not compatible with my system because there's not enough range of the points. Like the points don't have enough separation between them, and we need that to get like a proper velocity over like, and we need to separate them from time. Like, ironically, to estimate, we need to separate points from time. That's the reason why you might hear consultants for Agile state that you should use Fibonacci sequence. I recommend that too. So this might be something like a 3. This might be a 21. Or a, what is it, 34, I think. And then a wide variety, sort of all inside. I'd be happy to go into how to start doing points properly. I think that, I think that that we were able to get going pretty easily without too many problems, but it did require a lot of good thought on our end. And then the next thing is, when it comes to velocity, you as the team lead, so like I have to do this all the time. It doesn't matter how many times we tell them, it just will constantly come up. Points are not useful outside of the team. If management outside of your team wants to compare one team's points to another, everything will fall apart, like really, really quickly. The biggest complaint about points is that they're gamed. Well, the biggest reason why they're gamed is because points are often weaponized, or velocity is often weaponized against the team. Don't allow the velocity to be weaponized. If you're in a meeting and a manager from another team, a manager from like the executive team, it doesn't matter. It could be the CEO, could be a board member, comes in front of your team says like, hey, so I noticed that the other team has a velocity of like 150, and your average velocity is 100. Do you think, is there a problem with that? It's an innocent question. Like, notice that there's no actual malice in that question. They're not actually trying to get you working faster. They're just asking, hey, shouldn't you be working faster? Because as far as they know, they're comparing apples to apples. They don't know that they're really comparing apples to oranges. But the fact that it's somebody in power over the team is asking that question can cause vast damage to the entire system. So publicly, in front of your team, like correct that person. And this is where one of my favorite definitions of leadership comes in, which is we as leaders run towards danger. We have to shield our team from things like this. It might feel incredibly stressful and dangerous to answer a board member in front of your team, in front of maybe a bunch of people, to say, no, velocities are per team, and because like the team members are different and like the type of work that we're working on is different, every velocity is going to be unique. What we like to do is compare velocities to past velocities on the team, and that's all we do. 99% of the time that person is going to be placated and say like, oh great, okay, awesome. It's only like the 0.1% of the time that you're going to get like somebody who says like, well, I would rather them all work faster, and like then continue like to try to weaponize it. In that case, communication skills, de-escalation, those become really important, but you still have to deal with it right then. Don't wait to have a private conversation after the fact. It's not going to work because your team hears it and they don't hear you defending it. They're going to then start assuming that the numbers are going to be weaponized against them. And then it's over. It's all done. So, given that big, huge caveat about velocity, a definition of velocity here. Velocity only counts for finished tickets. So let's say you reach the end of the sprint. Let's say you're like, you reach the end of the sprint and this is all you got done. This looks terrible, right? Like there's so much left on the board, but this is all you got done. You were in the middle of deploying this one. It's not finished. It's not actually deployed out to production yet. Maybe you've got it in like pre-prod. You still got some things waiting for QA to happen. And you didn't even get to this stuff because you needed to deploy before you can even start working on it. Well, then we're going to take in our calculator. And we're going to add this up. So we have 3 plus 4 plus 8 plus 13. We completed 58 points this sprint. You can't, like, we don't say that we completed X percentage of this ticket, and therefore we can claim, 13 of these points. Nope. Only the tickets that are in the done column have provided any value to the company or the client. Therefore, they're the only ones that get counted towards the velocity. In progress, which is what this entire section is, completely, doesn't mean anything whatsoever. Only deployed in the hands of the clients mean anything. Now, in the hands of clients could be behind a feature flag, and therefore the clients can't actually see it, but it's deployed and out there. That would be considered done. So maybe that actually is done if you had a feature flag system. But I think this is like super important because I do see some teams trying to like claim extra points that artificially increases the number, their velocity, and it makes it look like they can get done more than they can actually get done. And this is like another really important thing, which is not Conway's law. I always forget the name of the law every single time, but it's metrics metrics that become a goal. So metrics as goals cease to have value as metrics. It is Goodhart's law. So Goodhart's law, one of my favorite laws to quote it to people all the time. If you have a goal, then we tend to make that happen. We're on Twitch, so I feel safe to use video games as analogies, metaphors here. Probably more of an analogy. If we have a video game that has a number that's increasing, that's a goal, not a metric. We want to see that number go up. So we do things to make that number go up, even if it's detrimental to what our true goals are. I feel like that's a really important thing. If we have a goal to have our velocity be 100, we will make it 100, regardless if that's whether our velocity truly is 100 or not. Ray Dalio wrote an excellent book called Principles, and while I don't agree with all of his principles, something that he said, I'm going to paraphrase him because I don't have the book in front of me. I don't remember everything. I don't remember this quote exactly, but the general idea is, isn't it better to know what reality is so that you can plan accordingly than just sort of having a feeling and then just just going based upon that feeling? Well, what is our actual velocity so we can plan around that versus, we get done a bunch of tickets per sprint. So let's just put a bunch of tickets in. This is what we want to do versus what we actually can do in reality. This actually surprisingly takes a long time to convince people in an organization that it's beneficial to know what reality is. So, okay, great. We have a velocity. Let's say we've done 100 sprints. And we now have a velocity of 100. Math will be easy. So we have a velocity of 100. This is an average velocity. Every sprint we can get around 100 tickets into done column. Okay, great. This is wonderful. We know how many tickets we can get done. So at the beginning of the sprint, when we do sprint planning, we can just load up 100 points worth of tickets, right? Or better yet, when we are planning, we can just plan out, figure out what the how many points we think that the project is going to take, and then multiply, divide by 100. That's the number of sprints, right? Well, not exactly. So things are a little bit more complex than just this. This number isn't actually a valuable number on its own. And that's because, this is borrowed from Lean. So this has nothing to do with Agile right now. This is all Lean. So each thing that we do is potentially a completely different type of work. And different types of work get done for different reasons. So let's say that with if we look at this, red, we have 4 different types of work. We have unplanned. Unplanned is never good. Unplanned is almost always a bug. Now, your team might not have planned to do some work, and like the company comes in and says, hey, we just came up with a new thing. It's gonna make, the customers are gonna love it. It's gonna make like us billions. It's gonna make us $1 billion company. Then they describe to you like Uber for pizza or something. You might be rolling your head and go like, well, this is not planned work. It's not part of planned. That's not unplanned. That's one of the other types of work, which is a business initiative. A business initiative is where your company says, hey, we came up with like this new idea. It's going to make us $1 billion, and the customer is going to like make our customers make $1 billion. Like everything is going to be the best thing in the world. We need to do this right now. That's a business initiative. Generally speaking, business initiatives should never interrupt a sprint in the middle of a sprint. They can always wait until like the next sprint starts. You can start planning them now, but you should probably like wait till they start. Unplanned is like a bug. Like, hey, our users can't log in. Like login is down. And it's like, okay, we need to go figure out what's going on. Drop everything we're doing and do this. These stuff interrupt the sprint all the time. Like, hey, I'm gonna pull this cool ticket in here, and customer success comes in and says, hey, by the way, nobody can log in. And you're like, oh, okay, well, never mind. Instead of pulling this ticket in, I guess I'm figuring that out. Let's see, what's next? Then we have a third type of work is a change request. A change request is a paying customer has requested that we change something, a feature request, for example. Hey, I really like, for example, I gave Envision, who makes this whiteboard, I sent them a feature request to add a dark mode. So that way it could be like a dark background instead of a light background. That's a change request. I am a customer. I am a using customer for this. Doesn't have to be paying because it's just someone who's actually using it who is not the business. And they want something different. That's value adding, because this is like, ooh, maybe if we do this, we can even get more people will want to buy this product. More people getting value from it. It's the reason why you see like products change over time. They get customer like changes requested in. And then there's one final type, which is in Lean, it's called IT, but it's like that's literally like the IT department doing something for you. I actually call this just internal improvement is what I've renamed this to be. Internal improvement is something like, hey, if we switch from SQL to Postgres, there's like a cache on the actual database that we can utilize that will speed up our queries by 700%. And it will make everything faster on the site. So we should probably do that. The business didn't come up with this. It's not been requested by anybody else. It's like just, hey, it'll make our stuff more faster. Or it could be, hey, you know what? We don't have any automated tests. What if we write automated tests? We will become faster by doing that. So internal improvement generally improves ourselves. So let's go write what these are. So types of work. We have unplanned. These are almost always bugs need to be fixed right now. Although sometimes we can wait and fix them later. Triage is a thing. Okay, outside of unplanned, there is business initiative. This is business has an idea that will increase value to the customer and therefore increase the value of the product and business. Then we have change request. A change request is a customer, not the product owner, sales, or anyone in the business has requested a change. This change would improve the value of the product and business. Note that we shouldn't always do all change requests. Not all of them will help. This is something that you see all the time. Just like, hey, I want you to do this. And it's like, you're literally the only one asking for that. And you're using our product in a really weird way. And that's not a direction that we want to go. Like, that's perfectly fine. Perfectly acceptable to not do change requests. Also, not all business initiatives will get done. We'll always have more ideas than we have time to work on them. Internal improvement. So these are like tools, procedures, or anything else that will make us faster. Like faster and for higher quality. So I mentioned like it could be fixing automated tests going too slow. It could be upgrading a database so that the database is like faster. It could be getting everybody to, learn how to use their tools, like sending everybody to training and that kind of stuff. So now if we come back to this, let's say that we have like a little bit of everything, right? So now we could say that unplanned was 34 points. We did a lot of unplanned work. Business initiative, we did 8 points. Change requests. We did no change requests, so 0. And internal improvement, we did 3 points. Well, looking at this, the only value added work was 11 points out of the let's do the rest here. So what's that? 100 minus 100 minus 34 minus 8 minus 3 55. Okay, so we'll do 55 here. So if we take this, we could then say, okay, 8 plus 55 plus 3 is 66. So value added tickets was 66 points. Well, think that we have a velocity of 100, we actually have a velocity of 66. We'll call this the adjusted velocity because we're adjusting after all no value or waste gets added in here. So having a good idea of what your waste truly is really important. So you might have heard me in the past say, like, I don't believe that tickets should ever go backwards on a board. Here's the reason why. Because if we say that, let's change this to be, let's say you're a business initiative. So you get done, you move your way over, you get into QA, and QA finds a really horrendous bug in here. So it just moves it back to here. Well, it gets completed and it gets reworked and added in here. The problem is we're not measuring the fact that it was a 21 before the bug existed, and now there's unplanned waste that is now part of this ticket, but it's hidden and we don't know about this. That's going to cause this number to go down. But we actually still did a lot of work. So in reality, what we should probably do is just say, okay, well, you're done without being deployed, but now we have to create another ticket that's maybe like a 13 to fix the bugs created in this ticket. And then it will go through, and now unplanned went up. It also means that we can do experiments as part of our retros to try to affect unplanned work. In my opinion, increasing the percentage of internal improvement points will therefore cause unplanned to go down, but only if you do it, in the right way. But hopefully you should be able to see these numbers and see them going up and down. So that's what I mean by these like types of work. That's what I mean by like our velocity. So velocity only counts for finished tickets. And we actually have multiple velocities that make a super velocity. So let's talk about protecting the sprint. We now know what our velocity is. If we know what our velocity is, let's say we have a backlog. Say like you're like unplanned in the backlog. Like you two are IT projects. Then we have like one that's a change request project. So let's say we have a backlog like this. We could even double this because most people have like hundreds of tickets in their backlog. Well, time to start like sprint planning time. We've pointed all the tickets so we know what the points are. The product owner has come in and ordered the tickets in priority. And now we're all going to come in together and negotiate what's actually going to be done this sprint. As a team lead, I look at our adjusted velocity and I say, this is how many points of business value work we can add to the sprint. Usually, especially early on, you get like eye rolls and you're like, well, yeah, but your velocity is 100. So we're just going to fill it up to 100. It's like, no, we're not. This is once again where that leader runs towards danger. We're not going to do 100 points. We're going to do 66. no more. Because we notice that we get a lot of waste added into the middle of the sprint. So we want to buffer in the case that tickets get added on later. Product owner, you have ordered everything. So if we get done early and we run out of things to do, we will pull in tickets from the backlog as a team and just like move from there. And it's like, okay, we do that. Again, this is a trust thing. So let's say we have what, 66? So okay. How many can we get done? So let's say we do like a 34, do this IT work, do this change request. So that's 13. That's 47. Can we do the 21? That would bring us to 68. Nope, we can't. We're gonna do the 34. No, we can do this 13. So plus 13. 60, and there's no smaller one. So okay, I guess we'll just bring these in. All right, well, that's what we can do. Well, customer success, who is at sprint review, says like, hey, we really need you to work on this. Like, this is super important. Like, okay, we'll pull this in. This is unplanned waste work. It comes out of the buffer even at the beginning. We just recognize like, hey, that's coming out of our buffer. Now we start working on stuff. Okay, so we do this. We go here. How many points do we have left? So we had 64, I think, plus 21. That's 80, 85 or so. So we have 15 points that as a buffer in here now. Let's say 15 points. Customer success set comes back and says like, hey, we just found a bug. It's really bad. We need to fix this now. So we say, oh, that's fine. We have room for that. Here we go. 13. Okay, no need to worry at all. We're still below our average velocity. So we're just going through, goes to QA, it's QA. These two get started. Then like this starts getting deploying. Continuing to move on. And then this is when customer success comes back again and says, hey guys, I'm really sorry. But a huge problem again came in. We've got more unplanned work than normal now. It's just come in. We have to do this. We are now over the 100 average velocity. At this point, because we've kept good metrics and because we know what on average the team can do, there is a rounding error to 0 chance that this sprint will be completed successfully. In the Kanban sort of world, I can't remember what the exact terms for it are, but there's a theory of how much work you can like juggle in your brain, like just knowing that the work is on your plate at the same time. There's actually a Kanban book that I have, or that I borrowed, that describes this really well with a metaphor of like throwing food to a dog. So the author described it as you take one treat and you throw it at your dog and the dog happily grabs it out of the air. Okay, the dog can handle one piece of work at a time easily. So then you take 2 pieces of treat, throw in the air, the dog grabs both of them. Okay, the dog can handle 2 things at once. You throw 3 and a dog can handle all 3 at once. Although it's getting a little bit stressed out, but still can do it. Still can like stretch itself and get it done without any problem. Then you take 4 and the dog freezes, tries to grab something, and all 4 land on the ground. That's what happens when we have too much work on the board. It's not just that we don't get it done, is that we'll get less done because there's too much now on our plates and we start getting stressed out knowing that there's just too much to get done. When you know you can't complete the sprint, there's a lot less it's just not less stuff will get done. So as soon as this happens, it's and-on cord time. Pull the and-on cord, pull in the product owner, pull in like whoever needs to be part of this meeting. Essentially, the sprint needs to be reset. And that almost always means saying, well, hey, we need to get this done. I guess that's not going to get done. Pull it off the board. Now we're back underneath the 100 limit. Now we can continue moving forward. So it becomes really, really important to be able to complete our sprints. But in order to complete the sprints, we have to be able to change what's on the board when it becomes, when we understand it. The last thing about this, about like board work here, is sometimes when we get done like through here, we're like, oh, yeah, this 13 is actually more difficult. It's a 21. As soon as that change comes in, you have to recalculate. And if you're over this limit, time to pull and on cord pull time again. And then the points should not just be for doing only. So the reason why I think that everyone who's doing anything should be part of like the refinement process where you point the tickets. The points are from ready to done. So QA, doing, and deploying all together are what the point is. The point of doing the work, huh? So protecting a sprint is all about preventing work that would increase the number of points on the board over the average velocity. Those tickets should either wait till a future sprint or cause other tickets to be removed from the sprint. An alternate way we can think about this is hand limits. So like if we're playing a game of I don't remember what games like have. Does Magic have hand limits? I don't remember anymore. There's a lot of card games where there's a hand limit. And if you exceed that hand limit, at the end of your turn, you have to discard the extra cards. Even if they're all really super helpful and like would be amazing for you, you just gotta do it. In this case, we're discarding it because we can't get them all played. We couldn't play them all, therefore discard down. This is protecting the sprint is going to be probably the most difficult as a team lead to do. I've spent a lot of time communicating with other teams, with like others in the company that like, no, I cannot do this. And I've even overheard rumors that like some other people think that sometimes I'm an asshole because I won't allow them to just like, well, Brooks won't let that ticket in. So I don't know if I'll be able to work on my ticket this sprint or not. The thing is like, I will let it in, but that means something else has to go. And that's the thing is like everybody wants their stuff to get done, but also like, okay, who gets to make that decision about what doesn't get done? That's going to be the product owner. The product owner is going to have to make that call. And so like, I'm going to work closely with the product owner to make sure that happens. Oh, that was also the buffer too, wasn't it? Okay, so we kind of talked about like metrics. I have been talking a really, really long time. Let's see, looking through this. I think that's all the prerequisites. I think we got through the prerequisites for what we need before we can actually do the estimating. So, woo, there's so much for a team that needs to do before they can actually estimate projects. It's crazy how much you need. This is all culture stuff too. This is all culture. Okay, so I think what I want to do is I want to take a quick break. And then I'm gonna come back to then do like how I actually do the real estimations. We've done 3 of them so far, and they've worked out exactly like they actually worked out, all 3 of them. So I will put on a break. Where's my break? There it is. And I'll be back in a few minutes. I'm going to go refresh my water again. And then we'll talk about that. It's quite a lot of info. This is huge. This entire field of like estimations of like team leadership. It's a huge field. I'm going to see if I can find also like some of the metrics I use because they're really important for like this next section. And I'll see if I can like mail it to myself from like my team and like, I don't know, change a little bit. So I will be right back. I'm back. All right, we can go back to the main screen. You can go back up here. Desk is so messy. I need to reorganize the streaming desk here. Okay, so what I want to do, this, and just take a screenshot and send it over to me. Probably on Slack. Every time it has to like re-download that. Office, like the new Office 365 is like, it's, I don't know, like I have mixed feelings about it because like it works, but it like is a lot slower than I think that it should be. I mean, maybe it's just this computer is like not that great either. So I print this as a PDF. Wow, you want to be like 7 pages? No. Wait, can I just scale to fit? There you go, all 1 page. You can be a landscape. Save this PDF. There, and then I'll Slack it to myself. Okay, let's Slack it on there. You are okay, and then I can find it. Here it is. Download you. Okay. So, I mean, there's not really much to like look at here. Dota, hello. It's all gonna be recorded and put up on my YouTube too. So if you want to like, if you missed anything, you can go look at that as well. All right. So as part of like some of the previous things I was talking about, like this is like this is information about a sprint. Probably would have had the focus mate sessions. We've done 17 now. Oh wow. Okay. You're probably getting your money worth out of that too, and that's awesome. All right, so I've got some. These are the analytics that I use for my team right now, and like there's no like actual numbers in here. I mean, I guess there are some actual numbers in here, but like they don't really. It doesn't really matter. I don't really care about this like too much, but I want to show off what like some of these are from like what I was previously talking about. So where is zoom? How do I zoom? Is it Z? I'm so used to like Z zooming. I think I just have to this and what? Okay, I can do that. It's not really that great. The points per sprint, like I don't even look at that anymore. It doesn't really matter. The point distribution is one of the most important things for me to see. So this blue is my waste. It's like whose line? Yeah, exactly. Like, well, I don't know what that is. Okay, so this is the waste that my team is working on. And I say waste, that those are just the unplanned points. But this 56.14 is the percentage of like business initiative points And then over here we have change requests. And then I have internal improvement and a new thing that I actually added. Actually, no, wait. I actually have this thing. Unplanned, business, IT, or internal improvement. Change request is this yellow in here. And then this is discovery, which is a new type that I added as part of our experiments to see whether or not I could reduce this number. And we have. It's reduced from like 35 down to 24. You don't think unplanned is synonymous with waste? So in traditional lean, it actually is. But it's because we're defining unplanned slightly like differently. So I'll go over again like really quickly. Unplanned is bugs that you have to fix that are not part of like the plan of what you want to do. So they're not value adding to the customer because they should have already been as part of the value, if that makes sense. So that's what unplanned is in like lean development or in like lean engineering. Now, change requests that's why they're separate from unplanned, because like if somebody says, I want you to do this differently, that's actually still value adding. No, actually, so that then, okay, so excellent question. If feature A contains tasks A, B, and C, but originally you only foresaw A and B, then C is also still a business initiative. It's actually one of the reasons why estimating things from the beginning is so hard, because we don't see these things coming in. It's very hard for us to do that, at least. Now, design sprints can help with this. Design sprints can help us foresee a little bit more into the future, but so unplanned, that would not be unplanned. It would just fall into this. That's yeah. It's just like it would be labeled as business initiative. Unless you deployed A and B to them and the customer says, oh, I actually want C, then it would be a change request. An example of a waste task. A great example of a waste task is we tried, like a user can't log in. A user cannot log in. Or we built a calendar for the users and it doesn't, if you add one task, it adds like 10 tasks for them by accident. So bugs. It's almost always bugs. And so it's not unplanned is like, it comes from, I'm using the definition, like the word from, lean engineering or lean manufacturing, which is like from Toyota. So they invented this essentially. And the idea is unplanned would be something like the machine broke. The machine that puts the doors onto the car literally broke. And now you have waste because you have to fix that machine. And then not only that, you have to fix all the doors that were broken because the machine was broken. Oh, you work with lean. Okay, so awesome. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing is like there is a little bit of twisting you have to do to twist from lean to agile, but it's not too terribly hard because agile is actually taken from lean, like had a lot of inspiration in lean too. So there's that. Oh, you were in manufacturing as a business analyst. Nice. Yeah, I'm doing a lot of my lean from the Toyota definition from it. So TPS, the Toyota production system, which is interesting because like almost all car manufacturers now use TPS. So it's kind of hilarious to think about how like Ford is using TPS. Have I read the Phoenix Project? Yes, I have. I have read the Phoenix Project. I have not read the goal. It's on my list. Okay, so for those of you who want to know, the Phoenix Project and the goal, you can almost say the Phoenix Project is a kind of sequel to the goal. Okay, so both of them are narrative stories, but they talk about exactly what I'm talking about here. They're like showing how a company or a team or like an organization can actually do the stuff in real life, as opposed to just, you know, me talking about like, hey, let's do the other things. I don't think Phoenix Project is a true story. I thought I read an interview with the author saying like it's like an amalgamation of like a lot of different companies. And after the Phoenix Project is the Unicorn Project. So there's a sequel to the Phoenix Project too. No, it's like it's taken from a bunch of different companies, a lot of different companies. So it's not just the IBM payment system. It's interesting. I'm pretty sure there is a company that like started their idea for it though. But yeah, okay. So now there's solutions to most of the problems, issues. Yeah. So when talking about velocities, we had previously come up with, okay, we see where it is. This is the velocity, and it's made up of these different types of work. So from lean, there's the different types of work. And we can say, okay, well, we actually only have, this is the real velocity that we actually have. This is the adjusted velocity. That's great. Now, I invented another tag that I put on the tickets that allow me to see milestone velocity. Because I noticed in my for my team, what was happening was we were being asked to do actual business initiative work that wasn't towards the project that we were supposed to be working on. You'll never hit 0 bug fixes though? Absolutely not. Like we're not gonna, you can never hit perfection, but you can try your best to reduce them down. Yeah, like you're never gonna be perfect, but you can try, unless you TDD. Even with TDD, you're still gonna run into bugs. But that doesn't mean that you like have to give up trying. There's always improvement that can be done. You're semi-trolling? Yeah, I'm okay. Okay, so let's say that this is this green one here, business initiative. This is for like here where we mentioned the Phoenix project. This is for Phoenix. This is for towards the Phoenix project. This is the product owner said like, hey, you know what? We have this other really cool thing. It's gonna be great. And the CEO came in and said like, I really want you to work on this. He convinced the product owner to like add it to the sprint. So this is what's another creature from fantasy? We have phoenixes. This is the Griffin project. Is it Griffin? It's a Griffin project. So what I did was we were getting this a lot. Gryffindor, actually, haha. We were getting this actually a lot in my team. So looking back at this, I created this metric so I can share with the product owner. Not on my team, no. My product owner is, well, it's not supposed to be, but like my product owner right now is like actually the co-founder. So it's, yeah, it gets interesting. They're not supposed to be like in the business up that high. They're supposed to be sort of like in between and mostly be focused on the client. But because of this, I am able to share with him this graphic every single sprint planning meeting. And I can say, hey, just to let you know, every time that you're asking me to work on the Griffin project, you're claiming that this is the most important project for us to be working on, but you're having us work on this over here. I just want to make sure that you're aware that you're delaying this. Get them in a mob. He used to code a long time ago, so that would actually work. And I actually have had them in a mob session when I needed like his feedback like right away, and we're just like, okay, let's just like work on this feedback. Okay, work design feedback. Work design feedback. Like it was pretty awesome. But okay, this is all to try to talk about how important not just having a single number for velocity is, but having your velocity broken out into different numbers that make up the velocity. And then we're going to use this number. So you as a team lead may not need to have a milestone velocity. If your team is not being asked to do like just other projects work, you're not going to need to worry about this. I added it in after we realized like, hey, we're not actually working on the project, and therefore we're estimating based upon what we think, like what we're actually able to do, but we're not being asked to work on the project, which means it's going to be delayed. So this explains why it gets delayed, and if you can explain why it gets delayed, it's not delayed anymore. That's just how they want it to be. So also, pretty graphs always go well with the higher ups. Really important to have pretty graphs. Sprint health. This is what I use. Like this top level is my is the buffer line. So like if we go over here and on cord pull, we're halting the sprint and we're removing tickets from there. Development is like being asked to design a bridge and then be told in the middle of the project to build a boat. Yes, exactly. And if you can find that you need a boat before you actually wrote any code, that's the best. Sometimes it's really hard to do that, but that would be the best. Okay, so let's move on to what we actually were here for. Planning, like the real planning, estimating. So I think something I completely forgot to add in here, which I want to do now, is design sprint. So this is part of that, like build a boat instead. This is super important to do a design sprint. We're not very good at it at my company yet, but we're getting better at it over time. So the core idea here is to like get aligned with the business, clients, and team on what, why, but not how, what and why. We are building something. This is where the business comes in and will say something like, hey, I need a bridge. Which, by the way, that should be red like flags right up at, all, just in there, because the second that like somebody tells you a solution, you know that they're wrong, especially if they're not like, if they're at the beginning of the project, like they're wrong. It's easy to say that 99.999% of the time they're wrong. They'll say something like, we need a bridge, and we're like, okay, great. I understand you need a bridge. Let's go through a design. Like, even though you say we need a bridge, let's do a design sprint. Let's slow down to speed up, and let's like go through our process. And then halfway through that, we're like, okay, well, we're going through like a customer journey, and your bridge seems to be underwater. Are you sure we don't just want a fleet of boats? And here's like, oh yeah, we do. Okay, so we discovered that without having to write code. So this is a big part of it, is the entire software development process is not just the coding part, but the entire thing from design through validation. The way I think of it is you have a big list of features, rank them in order of importance, and detail out the current one and decide which feature is next after the current one is done. You will create a list of features from the design sprint. Like that's what we do. Now, everybody is like, we're still getting good at design sprints, so I'm not like, there might be a better way, there probably is a better way than we're doing it, but we create a list of features from the design sprint. Yes? Philby, hi. You wanna come here? A slow walk with a high tail. And design, like there's so much in the way of like where design comes from, where we end up having you end up having thing. Oh no, you're done. Oh, you want to go into the drawers? Oh, you want to go there? Okay, hold on. Oh, I like messed up all my cables now, so now my camera can't reach. Hold on, let's see. Maybe, possibly, perhaps. No, the cable is too short and it's pulling it. Sorry, I can't actually get the cable to watch where Zilby is. Okay, so we do the design sprint. You can't estimate what the project is before you know what the project is. That's common sense, right? But so many executives will ask you to estimate something before you have a chance to even know what it is that you want to build. That's why the design sprint is good. You need to align the teams and the business and the clients with what you're going to build and why you're going to build it. Then we can come to our initial estimation meeting. So in the initial estimation meeting, we're going to come up with key themes. Now, I have not invented any of this. I have stolen this from somebody who knows a lot more what they're talking about, which is, I think it's called the Total Flow System. It's the, or maybe flow system or something like that. Hold on, let me go find it really quickly here. Okay, so we want, here's my list of subscriptions. YouTube changed their YouTube changed everything again. Why would you do this? Oh, I was too zoomed in, that's why. I need to go find Nigel's. Nigel Thurlow. So Nigel Thurlow is, he worked at Toyota for a while, I think in America. And he invented this, this entire like system of like a flow for software development to like for Toyota, and it's like worked out really well. And now he's creating this like entire training thing. It's this book that I've been reading from him called like the Flow System, I believe. And so he's got a series of videos on it. He also does a lot of music, but here it is, this Flow System. But I want to find his older videos on estimating, which we watched as a team together. So large effort estimation is video 1. And Where's the other one? There's 2 videos from him. Well, oh, this one. Why you should estimate all work. So notice that I'm doing something that like most people don't do. I'm estimating, like I'm pointing all work. Pretty rainbow. Wait. Oh, this one. Which one was the pretty rainbow? Oh, this one? Experience agile. Oh, like, yeah. Keynote from experience. Okay. Don't encourage you. Sorry. Okay, so basically I'm stealing like everything from here, and I was really not sure that it was gonna work, and it worked. Again, this only worked because I have a CTO who's backing me up. We had a lot of pushback on this, and both of us together were able to like give our team time to get this all set up and going. So let's talk about this large effort estimation. So I highly recommend watching this. I'm gonna actually add this in for like what this is here. And then this other estimate everything is like part of it. But really this is for just having an accurate velocity number. Whereas this one is like the actual process of doing it. This is actually gonna be part of Wiki. I'm gonna push this all up. So I'll print these out before. Okay, so key themes. Key themes are, go somewhere up here. When we're talking about a project, a key theme will be something. See, I don't know if I have like an actual project in here. So like, you know, you have like key theme 1. Let's say we have like 3 key themes. 2 and 3, but I don't know it enough to like maybe create the key themes for it. Baseball batting average tracker for the team. It might take me too much time and brain energy to actually come up with the real key themes for that. So like, I'm sorry, but like, I'm gonna keep with like this right now. I would need to spend more time, but that could be a really interesting thing to do in the future. And maybe I will set things up where I can do this on one of my own projects that I do in the stream, and we can see whether or not it works. If it's an oversimplified app, this won't work because this is large project estimation. And this, like if it's just only one key theme, it's like almost too small for this. Okay, so we create these key themes. And then, and this is something that like freaks a lot of people out. We point the key themes. So how do you point a key theme? Arbitrarily choose the simplest key theme and say, okay, fine. Key theme 2, you're the simplest key theme. You're a 5. We're gonna use Fibonacci sequence for this. Same as we use for, you know, the other thing. You're a 5. Okay, now that I've arbitrarily chosen this as a 5, these other key themes I now compare to this one to say, what are you? Well, compared to that one, you're actually like pretty big. So you're a 21 and you're a 13. It's like estimating like the points is really hard. So the first one, just choose the simplest one that you know and assign it a 5. Notice that I don't assign it a 1 because we might later on decide like, actually, you know, that's less than this. If you start with 1, you can't ever go smaller. So start pointing at like a 5. So there's several options below it just in case. What are some options for different themes that could exist? Okay, so let me take a look at what I have over here. I've got a list of like key themes that like I've seen in the past. The video unfortunately does not like go into super well what like the key theme is. These are above epics though, so like I don't know if that helps. They're above epics. There is key themes. I don't know if I don't think I easily have access. I don't have them like in easy to find places in my documentation. So it might be sort of like, see, I don't think any of my, if we were to come up with like a really big game, like a game that I've played, like we could look at Mario Golf. It's like we could have a key theme of like we have the Super Rush mode. It's like Super Rush. The mode. Another key theme is just like standard normal golf. I could be completely wrong here. I've never built like a giant game like this before, and I haven't actually done the design. This is also important. You have to do the design to come up with the key themes properly. And let's see, what else do we have? We might also have a maybe like auto update system. Maybe we have something like that. We want that. See, that's the thing is like, I don't know. They might, yeah, they do feel like key themes. I'm not very good at creating key themes. I usually leave that up to like my product owner. So these are like, don't take my word for it. My product owner is very good at coming up with these. So let's just go back to key theme. Now to do this and break it out properly, we like step one with this is that we come up with the key themes and we point them. Maybe a key theme is realism with app golf. Yeah, maybe that is. Maybe that's like this feels like golf. I had it right and then I changed it. Okay, so then step 2 is arbitrarily choose one of these. Doesn't matter which one, just arbitrarily choose one of the themes. Can we try to pick more? Yeah, we can try to pick more. Like, what's another key theme from like a golf game? Let's say we're making a golf game. It doesn't have to be like the Mario Golf Super Rush. I just played that a little bit before at the beginning of the stream, so that's why it's fresh in my mind. It could be any big giant project. So like it feels like golf. It's like it has different modes, like different play modes, maybe. Customizable, like players can customize the game. Also, you can have many key themes. It's not limited to 3. It can be many. It's like gamification. Yeah, maybe this one would be gamification. So gamified. They probably wouldn't use something like that. It'd probably be more of like what is it called? Like there's a business term for this that is used more frequently than gamification. And yes, engagement system to keep players engaged. Which then you're just sitting there going like, really? It's called the addiction system. So anyways, we do this and we probably would do something like this, right? Feels like golf is the simplest. And then different play modes is like, well, that's going to be pretty different architecture here. Engagement is like maybe a little bit more tough. Yeah. So we then take one of these and we now choose one at random. Doesn't matter which one. Personally, we have always chosen the first one we need to work on. We also like, so you missed this, Dota. But where is it? Here. We also used this timeline with that's like not a deadline based timeline, but a milestone based timeline. We basically treat these as the milestones. So like as soon as it feels like golf, that's like, maybe that's an MVP and we can start getting it like beta tested or pre-alpha tested. So these might be like, okay, we might even put these like on a line and say, as soon as we hit this, we can start alpha testing it. As soon as we hit this, we can like start the marketing machine up. As soon as we hit this, we start the sales machine, and then we go to market. And that's the thing, is like, you can't work on them at the same time unless you have many, many teams that can work at them at the same time. There's a limit on the themes. I mean, yes and no. The big thing is that because we take a more agile process to this, we end up with the ability to abort out of a project at any moment. You don't have to finish the project. As soon as the business says there's no more value to be gained from this, you're done. There's no reason to continue working on it. You might be like, it turns out that as soon as it feels like golf, your alpha testers might say like, you know what, this is freaking good. Let's just sell this now. And you're like, okay, this can still be in here as follows, but like, you can start selling now. You didn't know that until you reached this theme. Okay, so we now break these. We break this out. Let's just. I've always taken the first one. The first one we're going to go to because we need to do it anyways. Just laziness. Also, I feel like this one we can foresee a lot more, and like we're going to get accurate. But I don't think the books never really like talk about which one to choose. It just says choose one at random. Okay, so we're going to choose one of these. And we're going to now create the epics that make up this. So maybe the epic is going to be like set up the game, like the initial setup. So like initial setup. Let's see, what are other epics that we could have in like the feels like golf sort of like first milestone. We can like we have the clubs that we can choose. So like club choice, like club choice system. Let's see. We have the like the putting system. Like swinging, hitting the ball. So things like this. Like there would potentially be lots and lots and lots of epics in here. Yeah, weather. Okay, so I'm just gonna go with these. There's potentially many more. Okay, so these are epics. They go under here. And then, surprise, surprise, we now point these. Now here's where, as a team lead, it becomes really, 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 really important to keep your team sort of like understanding this, because if you're used to pointing story points, you're used to like everything being together. But now we have theme points, and now we're gonna have epic points, and they have nothing to do with each other. I highly recommend a break in the meeting between these two things, simply because you need to reset your brain before you do this. Love how like Envision is just resetting constantly now. I don't think my see, I haven't dropped a single frame. So it's not my internet. But the same way to start, I recommend, which is take the simplest of these. So maybe initial setup is the simplest. Hey, we're Nintendo. We've built like 1 million games for the Switch. We know how to get the initial setup done. That's pretty simple for us now. So we're just assigning that a 5. Okay, great. Now, club choice system. This is gonna be a little bit more tough. Club choice system, it's a little bit more complicated of a system because we have to write it in such a way that like we can add club types, and like we're keeping engagement in mind. So we have to write it in like an architecture way that's easy to extend. So I'm gonna give this like a 21. Putting system's gonna be pretty easy. So this should be an 8. Hitting the ball should also be an 8. And the weather is gonna affect everything else. Let's put this as like a 34. We didn't think about these points when creating them. They're compared to each other on these. Yeah, they're not ordered also. They should be ordered, but like they're not ordered. So like maybe we do something like you can Envision, why are you doing this to me? Okay, it's back. I don't know. It might be something like this. I'm not putting too much thought into here. Okay. Now, as soon as we get this, we can now look at this and say like, ooh, okay, so we have 5 and 13 is 18 plus 21 is 39. So we have 39 epic points total for this project. Okay. And we have, I'm gonna break out the calculator for this one. We have 5, 8, 21, 34. We have 76 epic points. Okay, so 76 epic points. Here, key theme points. Okay, that's across all of these. These are 76 epic points for this one key theme. So this like blew my mind, and like I did not believe this was going to be true at all. But one key theme point is roughly equal to 76 epic points. Okay, so then Okay, got that. Now let's take one of these epics and create user stories for that one epic. As soon as Envision comes back. They're not making it easy for me to sell this product for you all. I love Envision freehand. It's been great for me so far. This is the first time it's been like just constantly going down on me. I wonder if they're doing like a lot of updates to it recently. Okay, so we did green, we did blue. Let's do orange. Okay, so these would be Jeff Ronas, hello. Are those 76 epic points for the feels like golf theme? Yes, absolutely. Yes, that is correct. Let's do this. It's kind of like both. So absolutely yes. This entire thing is like that. That one doesn't need. Line caps. So yeah, so these epics are for the feels like golf. We didn't even bother creating the epics for this. Oh, you're right. Yeah, math. Clearly not my strong point. Thank you for that. So that is 5 key. Yeah, so 5 key theme points is equivalent to 76. Okay, now we take one of these epics and we create the user stories for it. So we might have like initial setup. Let's see. So what would that be? We'd be like setup Unity. Like maybe this is like these would like, now I say user stories, but these would be like the tasks in Jira. So like either stories, tasks, or whatever in Jira. So we have like maybe get team set up on Unity. Maybe like bring in templates, like bring in template like engine or whatever. Some people like have these like set up if you've built lots of games before or other like projects. We can like update, like set up the like auto like CI/CD pipeline. Let's see, what are other things that you can do like in like a setup phase? You can like even have the team might need to like learn about like new Unity stuff. So like training on new Unity features. Let's see, other things. I'm not sure like what other stuff we want to have in here. I don't make these like giant games. I don't really have used Unity. So let's just imagine that this is all we have in here. So these are the user stories. And once again, we point them. Just like the other pointing, we're gonna choose the simplest one and give it a 5. So looking at this, perhaps we think that getting the team set up on Unity is going to be the simplest, the least complex. So you're a 5. You're probably just like just a little tiny bit more complex. So you're an 8. CI/CD pipelines, we've done that a few times before, but it's always got just a little bit of weirdness. So you're a 13. And you are bringing templates. Like all of our templates and other like, maybe not templates, but like assets, you don't really like take that much. You're a 5. You're about the same as that. Okay, so now we can add this up. So 5, 5, 10, 23, 31. Okay, so now we have 31 story points for this epic. And so now we can see, okay, if 76, it's like these 5 story point or epic points lead to 31 story points. Now we have everything to sort of like estimate how many story points they're going to be. Now it's an estimation. There's a fairly good possibility this is going to be wrong because, as Dota mentioned earlier, we might need C. Like there might be a key theme missing completely in all of this, but I'm going to go into that a little bit later. Okay, so let's do the math for this. So it's like the 5 to 3. So what does that divide? It's like 6. Yeah, something like 6 story points per epic. So if it's 6 story points per epic, then we then multiply that out. Let's see. I always forget exactly how to do the math. I have to look it up. I actually just rely upon the other team members doing it. Just like I just get them set up and then other people do the math for me. About 15 epic points per theme point. So what's somewhat confusing is some of the theme stuff we might not do. Well, and so like this is an estimation for all of the stuff. Does that make sense? This is an estimation for the entire project. If we decide to end early, that's a decision that gets made later as we're doing it. But like right now, if what the business wants to know is if they're asking us to deliver all of this, how long do we think it's going to take? And then we say, well, based upon this, we think it's going to be, okay, so we want, how many story points overall do we think this is going to be? So 90 story points per theme point. Okay, so thank you for that. Also, thank you for like essentially being a team member who just does all the math for me. So that's awesome. Also, I closed my count right there, so open that back up. So if we have 90 story points per theme point, we had 39 key points. So that's going to be 39 times 90 is 3,510. Grabbing food. Well, thank you for hanging out with me, Dota. Also, thank you, Jeff Ronas, for this. So this is going to be, what is it? 3,510 points. So it's an estimated 3,510 story points for the project. Now that we have this, too much. We come back down here to our velocity. What most teams like, there are some teams that actually like go through this project and they get this. That's great. The problem is that then they'll say, okay, well, our velocity is 100, so we'll take 3,510 divided by 100, and that's going to be how many sprints it takes. Like 100 would be what? 3.5 sprints. And then, multiply divided by 30% each direction. It's like anywhere between like 2.9 35 sprints? 100? Oh, it's 2 zeros, not 3 zeros. Yeah, it'd be like, okay, 35 sprints is how long we think it's going to be. And then 30% of that would be like several sprints up or down. But that 100 is a false, because we don't do 100 business added points every sprint. We do 66. So we should use our adjusted velocity, which is this 66, to predict how many sprints it's going to take. So in this case, it's going to be divided by 66, 53. Look at that. From our actual velocity to our adjusted velocity is 53 versus 35 sprints. So now we can say estimated 53 sprints to complete. And then it's always good to give a 30%, just sort of like on either side of this. So what is this, like times 0.3? So that's 15 up or down below that. So 53, so like that's 15.9. So let's just round that up to 16. So we'll just say 53 minus 16, so 37 through, and then we have 53 plus 16 is so we have anywhere between 37 and 69 sprints is what we would give the business and say, this is how long we estimate this to take. And that's our estimation. And we can say that we're 90% accurate. We're 90%, it's a 90% chance that we're going to hit this in here. We have been very accurate with my team with this, like using this exact method. We were surprised how accurate it was. Like the sales point on it is like good to go. Okay, so Jeff Ronis, you were asking, where does the 66 come from? So the 66 comes from the idea that not all points are the same. So in lean manufacturing, which is where like I borrow a lot of stuff from my company, there's different types of work. So let's say we're working on stuff in our on our board through the sprints, and like this ticket is unplanned, it's a bug. This ticket is like an internal improvement tool. Like this ticket is actually the business ticket. This is actually working towards the goal. And this ticket is like a change request from a customer that says like, hey, I really want you to like change it to be this. Only these three are value adding. So these three should be the ones that go towards predicting how many sprints it's going to take. This is waste. This is like not helpful at all. It's really just fixing bugs or like repairing value where it should be. And in that case, we should not count this towards our velocity when it comes to predicting, because it's not going to happen. Like this is just something else entirely. And this is, I think, the key that causes most companies and most teams to not predict accurately, is they don't take unplanned waste into account. So that's pretty much all of this. I didn't like write it all out as I was doing it. But like that's like the big actual thing where we're doing the estimation. Now every sprint take a look at your velocities. And if like your velocity goes like up or down from like if your adjusted velocity changes very much from this number, then you can start realizing like, hey, suddenly we're like 55, and it's going downwards, or if it's going upwards, just spot check every couple of sprints, maybe even every sprint, recalculate based upon these numbers. Are you still going to hit within here? If the answer is no, immediate and encore pull in the business, pull in everyone who's involved in this and say like, hey, guess what? So we just realized that there's another key theme we need to do for this. That adds like, 500 more points. That's going to change our estimated number of sprints to complete. We just want to let you know, this is the cost of that change. Do you still want to make that change? This might feel like it's a really hard conversation to have with the business, but it's actually empowering, because what you're doing is you're empowering the business with real information as opposed to having them just come up and make up numbers because they will. I don't usually like speak like too negatively of like anyone group or something, but like I see a lot of business people just make up numbers and then be perfectly fine and happy with it. And with this type of work, that is not good. Making up stuff out of thin air is not going to result in a project done in the time frame that you've estimated it's going to be done at. So telling the business this is reality, based on reality, this is the cost of you doing it. And if you can prove to them, hey, this is the cost of it, then the business can make better decisions. And it's a really cool. Get one or two projects, like I think it's actually just get one project like this done. And the business will start trusting you to like actually give them the right information, and they'll stop trying to like force deadlines and other things on them. They're doing that out of fear. They're doing that because they don't have any like good knowledge and they can't trust anything. So this is where we can like provide that communication. We can provide that trust. It is weird and like might be really scary, but we can do it. We can work with the business together and provide absolute great, wonderful value. Okay, that's it. Like, just keep this number up to date, keep an eye on it, and pull the end on cord as soon as it looks like it's not going to be hitting. And then there you go. That's it. That's how to predict. There is so much more to like being a team lead, but like this is probably one of the things that I see people trying to like figure out how to estimate. I've even seen like a big no estimate hashtag going around. People like, do not estimate, do not give like the business like, an estimate whatsoever. The problem is that if you don't estimate, the business will still estimate without you. And that's not good. So therefore, well, if we have to estimate, this is the next best thing that I found. It's worked well for me. I hope that this is helpful for you. I think what I'm going to do is like today, like we made a bunch of videos. I think I'm going to like end the recordings for this here. Okay, so that was like a huge amount of talking, a huge amount of going through stuff. I don't know how many of you were here for the entire thing or like even just like parts of it. Do any of you have any questions about this? I'm super passionate about it, so I can just go on forever on this. Well, at least until I get too hungry. Time estimation sucks. Any method to assist in it is great. Absolutely yes. Okay. Hold on. There is a great thing that we can do. I have not yet done this in my work, but so we can't predict at the beginning of the sprint. Like, we can't predict at the beginning of the sprint, like, how many points you're actually going to get done. Like, we call it an average velocity because sometimes it's up and sometimes it's down. That's fine. That's totally understood. But after the sprint is done, we know how many points we got done. As a team lead, you may or may not know the cost of each developer. So, but the CTO will, the CFO will. They should be able to tell you how much the team costs to maintain as a company per sprint. They can say, like, look, every 2 weeks, due to like the health and like paying health insurance, paying wages, paying, like, I don't know, like sometimes you might even put in the amortized like part of the electricity of the building. Like I've seen some companies even go that far, but you can say, like, let's say it costs like $500,000 per sprint for that team to exist. Suddenly, if it's $500,000 per sprint, you can now put $1 to a point. If you put $1 to a point, you can now put a money, like an estimated how much it's going to cost the business to make the project. And so if the business comes in and says, hey, I want you to add a key theme, you could then say, hey, just to let you know, that's a great idea. I really love that key theme. It will cost the company $500,000. It will cost, well, I mean, maybe it won't even cost, maybe it will cost the company, like, that will cost the company $2.4 million to implement that key theme. Are you sure that it's worth $2.4 million? Chantilly, can we just add buffer without doing all the work? Yes, you can. But that's not going to help in the large effort estimation. That's going to help in just like the getting stuff done. It's going to help in like sprint planning and like trying not to add on to this. Tying, just like using unplanned off of here. It's what I do to like try to determine like what we're actually, like how much we're actually doing. Like how much value added work is actually happening, and like to prepare. I do that because it makes me feel like a little bit better about it, but sometimes I do get like interruptions that are like, value added work, and that takes up the unplanned, that takes up this buffer. But yeah, like anyway, like as long as you have a buffer, that's the most important point. It's a lot easier though to point to like this algorithm. It makes people feel a little bit safer that you have an algorithm and you're not just trying to be lazy. Like there's an unfortunate number of people out there who will look at you and say, hey, I think your team is lazy, and that's why you're only allowing us to put 66 points in the sprint instead of up to 100 or even 150. So I'm going to suggest that you put in all these other tickets too. And then you end up, so it's a tool. That's all it is. It's a tool that helps me argue my point. But yeah, this is it. This is estimation. It's a long meeting. It takes a long time. It's not fun, but so far it's worked surprisingly well. Okay, so I'm gonna make this freehand available for everyone if you want to come and watch this. Freehand is free. You don't even need an account to come take a look at this. What I can do is do settings, and anyone with the link can view only. So copy this link. Heck, you could come in here right now if you want in chat, and then I'm gonna add this in here. Recordings are at, I'm gonna put like the playlist in there, and then the whiteboard is here. So yeah, this is a really cool tool. If you haven't like looked at freehand before, I would highly recommend it. It's pretty nice for like just if you need a whiteboard, and it's free, which is like hard to argue with that. Okay. So if there aren't any other questions, or if there are any, I'd love to answer them. Did I answer your question sensitively? Like, I know the planning work is elaborate, but it can be really helpful. That's the other thing, is like you can see the you can see everybody as a cursor in that. So all right, awesome. Well, my throat is starting to get a bit sore. There was a lot of talking for a long period of time. I know I don't have too many labels in there, so like there's like if you have any questions about like what sections of this is, I'd be happy to go over them again. I kind of like was doing them alongside the video, so this way you can like follow along if you're watching the full video. Probably should have shared this earlier on too. I'd be happy to like do other future streams, like other parts of team building. As I mentioned, Nigel Thurlow, who has been doing this, all of this stuff. Let's see, I think it's the flow. No, okay, so that's not. Okay. The Flow Consortium is I guess like what they're calling themselves. Is there a website that I could go for this? Like Flow System? And maybe training? It might be unlisted and therefore not, they might not want me to like actually show that off yet. Oh, here it is, Get Flow Trained. So it's part of this flow system that we can see here. And under courses, where is it? There is, a list of all the courses. Their website is not super easy to navigate. Courses. And I'd have to go find. Oh, actually, I have it logged in over here. Where are you? Oh, just get flow trained. Oh, maybe they changed their web. Oh, here it is. Okay. So, this, like everything that I've been talking about, that I've been like learning and stuff, is all in this center in Flow Systems Foundations. Like there is like some stuff that I've like learned from like their website that like goes out a little bit further, but as you can see, there is a crazy amount of research being going into like all the different areas about how to run a team, how to run team of teams. So it's something I'm passionate about. I want to continue learning about it. I've been reading their book, which is just this. So as I learn more, I'll be happy to share it all with you. And if you're interested in like reading the book or anything else, I will share a link to the book in the description for the video as well. Actually, I'll just share. Let's see, I think it's called Flow System Book. Yeah, this. So if you're interested in that, here that is. And I'll add this one in. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for stopping by. I think this was, it was a lot of fun for me to just do like a brain dump of all this stuff. And if you have any questions, please tweet at me or, send me a message any of the ways that you can find me. It can even be just like a Twitch private message or comment on the video. And I will be happy to do more of these in the future. Maybe chat about some of the stuff. Maybe I can even just use that short system to answer some of the questions one-offs. We'll sort of see. Anyways, I think I'm gonna go grab lunch. So thank you everybody for stopping by. I hope that all of you who are American are having a great 4th of July. And everybody who's not an American will still have a great 4th of July. With that, I'll see you next time. Bye.